for nothing but your company. Is wealth worth a parting? No, it's not for me.
I Am a Ship by Martha Pichey.
I want for nothing but your company. Can't bear the leagues between us, so go I to sea. Go I to sea to fill the barrels with oil. Go I to sea, abandoning my soil.
Pearl is in the local whaling museum. She paces out a small square. She has a map rolled under one arm.
This was the size of the captain's cabin on board. Not a lot of room to hang out when you're on board with 30 men. I have loved this island and this whaling museum since I was a kid. I used to be in here all the time. I come from a family of whalers, so I used to think, maybe that's my great-great-grandfather. Maybe that's my great-great-grandfather's harpoon. Or that sextant might have been in my family. And there was some stuff I didn't know. It turns out that women went to sea too. Captains paid the company to have their wives sail with them.
She unfurls a map.
This is Colton's map of the world, printed in 1852, and we're right about here. Whale ships sailed from ports all over the eastern seaboard. Beginning in 1784, Long Island whalers set off on 1,000 voyages in nearly 150 ships from Sag Harbor, Cold Spring, and Greenport.
Pearl takes up a harpoon.
Whales in the Atlantic were nearly fished out. And ships had to sail farther and farther away to find enough whale oil. By the 1860s, it was taking longer and longer and longer to get back home. Even 3 years away wasn't unusual. Many brave women joined their husbands on long and dangerous journeys just to keep the family together. And they were always the only women on board. They would sail south between Africa and South America. Sometimes they'd stop in the Azores or Cape Verde for more crew, crossing the equator, reversing seasons, and staying in the South Atlantic until rounding treacherous Cape Horn, where they had to watch out for icebergs, not whales. The ship would gain distance only to be pushed back again. But how many months to get to the bottom of South America? How many whales would they find?
Go I to sea to fill the barrels with oil. Go I to sea, abandoning my soil.
Eliza on deck.
She blows.
She runs to the side of the ship.
She breaches. 2 points off the starboard bow. She blows.
Eliza writes in her journal.
When first out, a lonesome sensation came over from my mind as Superior glided farther and farther from land. But now, I have no such feelings. Rather, the reverse. Waft us on, ye winds, and bear us away from home and kindred. I am with my husband now, and by him I will remain. He can have no trouble, no sorrow, but what I can know and share.
Pearl in her attic bedroom, now in jeans and ratty t-shirt folding laundry, she reads the journal.
I am with my husband, and by him I will remain.
I feel such pride in my captain as he speaks to his men, all eyes upon him. You all know my ways. The weighty responsibility of your safety rests with me and that of the Superior. Yet, we are but one organism. We work, live, breathe together in calm and calamity. I feel safer here than I ever did on dry land.
I'm not sure where I feel safe anymore, apart from up here in this attic room. I close my eyes, and all I see is this high, dark wall on the edge of the forest I cannot climb over. I should push down my fear, look people in the eye, but I only go to the grocery store right before it closes, hoping I won't bump into anyone. My skin feels so thin, as if brushing up against anything or anyone will tear it open. I'm safe here. I can be left alone here.
Pearl picks up the journal, reads as she matches socks.
But no one pays me any due as they run to lower the boats.
My face is badly sunburned, waiting for them to return.
One long hour follows another.
I cannot countenance doing nothing. I learned to make rope.
Eliza collects strands at her feet and begins to make rope.
Twisting and pulling, watching it lengthen inch by inch by inch.
Pearl puts down the journal, reaches for laundry to fold.
I'm not good for much, but I'm not doing nothing, am I? Remember that fight we had, Sam? I was at a loss to make up and say, I love you. I fold your laundry, don't I? That's a way to show I care. Oof, your face fell. You told me that was a pathetic excuse for love.
A squall hits with sudden fury. I fear Nathaniel has drowned in the whaleboat.
Eliza drops the rope and crawls down the steps.
I make every attempt to stay on deck, but I am unable to crawl, let alone walk. In the cabin, the water comes knee-deep. The coals turn to cinders. My clothes are saturated with salt. Charts wet through.
Eliza in the cabin, wringing out her skirt.
At last, my husband strides in.
2 whales better off, and all is well. Quick!
He swoops me up into his arms.
The deck is slick with rain, but you must come see, Eliza.
A rainbow, far out to sea. 'Tis the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Miles and miles of calm water, glorious bands of color.
It more than makes up for the mayhem, my darling, does it not?
Pearl closes the journal, places it back on a bookshelf.
Mayhem. That's a really good word for bad things.
She arranges the boys' folded clothing in piles.
My 3 boys. 6 feet. So many dirty socks every single week. Calm waters, that's what you need, Pearl. I overheard Will tell a friend that he couldn't stand being in the same room with his mom because she sighs so much. I vow to sigh less than yesterday.
She looks out her attic window.
When I was little, I'd count the boats at the dock from here. I'd see my rowboat tied up. Back in the 1840s and 50s, this harbor was filled with whale ships. The North Star, the Bounding Billow, the Cape Horn Pigeon. Little Toot would have been like a minnow bobbing alongside a whale. I loved naming my boat and painting the letters. And I'd yell, "Don't be lonely, Little Toot. I'll come row you soon." Who here has a boat with a name they love? Rosebud. Rosebud? Anyone else?
We know you have boats.
Int? Newt? Barbie? Anyone? Any? Arctic Tern? Arctic Tern. I've been reading a lot about boats, so excuse me. Barks, brigs, schooners, square-rigged ships, and ships with wide tumble-home hulls. The very last whale ship to leave from Sag Harbor was the Myra in 1871. But she was leaking so much she didn't make it past Barbados. I'd call her an apt symbol for whaling's demise in the second half of the 19th century, when oil was discovered and cheaper fuels were more available.
Way, haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Way, way, haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
Eliza in her cabin.
I
she
tried
writes.
to join at the table, determined not to be sick, but was obliged to leave and come to bed. For more than a week now, old Neptune proves a hard master. I can barely raise my head without being sick. So sick I have no period. Even if I am seasick, at the mercy of the waves, securing things, jamming myself into a place where I do not roll, vomiting until I vomit blood, please, God, let me be with child. Oh, how I long to start a family.
Way, haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, hey, haul away, we'll haul away, yo.
Eliza lies down to rest, wrapped in a star-patterned quilt.
Will was conceived right here, just a month after our honeymoon. When I told you I was pregnant, Sam, and I was worried, my mom had miscarried twice before she had her first, you said, "Oh, you'll be fine." Really? How do you know? Look at those childbearing hips. Like that's all it takes. Except it turned out you were right. 3 babies, no pain meds, 1 stitch.
Such an ugly dream I had. Seaweed twisted all round me beneath the hull of the ship. I hear soft cries. I follow them, reach a baby whale. My arms become longer and longer, twisting round her soft shape. I am breathing as a fish. I pull her beneath the waves and drag her up to the shore, to a small graveyard. I don't know this place, yet I do know this place. But the baby whale cries no more. She is dead, and I am distraught. I try to push her into a deep hole, but she will not go. When I awaken, my arms are outstretched, aching as if I have not slept but swum all night long. Ugh. I wish to shake away this dream. Nathaniel! Oh, let it pass, let it pass.
She scrambles to find a sponge.
Perhaps the blood will not be much.
She wriggles her corset loose.
Oh, let me be pregnant. I do not want to lose another baby, ever. Nathaniel assures me I will become pregnant again. I tell him how I held our Timothy for 5 days while he was thousands of miles away at sea. He had the darkest hair, like yours. No chance to whisper hello or say goodbye to your firstborn son when you were so very far from home.
Pearl is under the old star-patterned quilt now.
My period stopped 4 months ago. At first I thought I was pregnant. I was petrified. But then I wondered, could I be happy? No, I wasn't happy. I was relieved and just very sad. I do this every morning when I wake up at 4 a.m. because maybe it's you waking me up. I want my fingers to reach up to yours. I wait as long as I can.
The killer, he hooked me and reeled me in. I looked in his eyes and saw nothing within. As soon as I saw him, I knew I would die. 2 moonless black oceans in sockets bone dry.
All day long, I remained on deck and witnessed the tying of the whale to the ship. They first cut off the head, and when it came on deck, it swung against the side of the ship with a thud that shook the length of the ship.
Could you harpoon a whale? If filling the hold with barrels of oil was how you fed your family, could you? I would. I hear the mate's order to hoist and swing and jump down into the whaleboat. Single banked, 1 man to an oar, as we pull with all our might, pour water on the rope to stop the scorching of the fibers, thrust a 2 flue iron deep into the whale, burying it To the hitches. Get him fast. The boat backs out, stern all, and we hang on until he tires.
My bones for the door frame, my skull for the wall. Aloft on a placard, a prominent wall. My skin for a blanket to scare wind so wild. My heart on the table, my teeth for the child. Out of the water, salt secrets I held. Unkindly discover, as here I can tell. I see through the walls, so I sing it myself. My salt water sits in a jar on the shelf.
Dear mother, are my sisters well? Please tell me you have not disowned me. Where are your letters back to me? I have written 5 times now of my new home. According to my captain, we are now halfway between Africa and South Africa, approaching St. Helena, the world's most remote island. I do not know how many degrees north or which degree west. I will say it is where I want to be.
Pearl unfolds a letter in the journal.
My dear Eliza, all the leaves are fallen from the oaks and the maples on Beach Street. Your sisters have filled countless jars with applesauce and raspberry jam. This past Sunday, Pastor Coates gave a rousing sermon for once about the love of home and family. We miss you, of course, but pray you have made the ship feel like home. I hope you are not missing us too terribly.
Eliza, you needed to hear from your mom so badly you made this up. You missed home. I don't, because I am truly home again, but do my boys miss home? Naperville, voted best city to raise a family, 3rd best city to live in America, only 30 miles west of Chicago. Best place to be a kid. Bakerville, I joke, but not really. I voted worst place to live when your in-laws live only 3 blocks away. Controlling, suffocating. I said yes way too fast to moving there, but Sam knew. And we were getting ready to make this move back east to restore this place. We talked about the best timing for a move, for his job transfer, for me to finish school. Oh, why did it never seem like the right time? But here we are. And nowhere are we going back to dinner every Sunday night with the in-laws.
She makes a list.
Call the therapist, buy Danny new shin pads, meet with Will's teacher, make that doctor's appointment for Joey. He says he has heart trouble. He doesn't have heart trouble. But I want the doctor to take him seriously. Except, of course, he does have pain in his heart. We all do.
Oh, we'd be all right if the wind was in our sails. We'd be all right if the wind was in our sails. We'd be all right if the wind was in our sails, and we'd all hang on behind.
Eliza in her cabin lights candles. She opens a box with a gold pocket watch.
Never given you something so costly that you've never turned 27 before, my brave ancient mariner. For my own and only love, Nathaniel Ripley. E.
I never gave you anything so costly, did I, Sam? Except maybe those headphones, and boy, did I regret it. I felt like you were trying to block me out.
Eliza unfolds cloth, revealing a fine blue silk corset.
So gorgeous. Whalebone, of course. 'Twas meant for you to dress me, but now
She holds it around her torso.
it will not fit. Too many berry pies, you'll ask. 'Tis because I'm pregnant. Oh, we are having a baby. In June, you will come, God willing. Oh, I feel ready. We will have rounded the Horn, whaling the Pacific. Happy birthday, my love.
Pearl rummages in the rafters, drags out an old chest, and pulls out a faded, crumbling blue silk corset.
Grandma, I remember when you showed me this. Pearl, you said, your great-great-great-grandmother went to sea. How many greats did you say? I could not wrap my teenage brain around it. I'm about as thin as I was then. Not a recommended way to lose weight, losing your husband overnight.
She hangs it like a work of art, then sits and writes.
Dear Sam, nobody can know this but you. I rode, and I rode with no life jacket on, which is dumb. And my tears were streaming down like they were dropping on my lap to the rhythm of the oars. I knew I'd end up with blisters, but I didn't care. I kept on rowing, stabbing my oars into the water, and then yanking them hard to my chest, rowing and crying and getting out of breath. Then I was crying too much to row. Just hunched over the oars and the tide pulling me out, but I was too tired to care. I just let it take me away. Then I did try to turn the boat around and found I had no strength left to row against the tide. I was rowing in place, like an infinity pool. Infinity, Sam. The infinity sea. I felt too tired to panic. I just didn't care. And then, thank God, I could still care. Thank God, a Boston whaler caught up to me. He threw me a line. I didn't know him, and I'm glad. He tugged me and little Toot back to the dock, and we barely said a word once we got there. I was grateful for that. He could see I was all right.
Eliza on deck, sewing pantaloons. She tries them on and strides to the railing.
We are cutting in the whale, turning it over and over again like a greasy log in the water, peeling it as a grapefruit. Chunks of blubber 12 inches thick are hoisted on deck from the landing stage, roped beside the boat. We cut them smaller still and fling them into the iron try-pots as they boil down the blubber hour after hour. It makes for stench and smoke and sleepless nights. Nathaniel is so dead tired that he does not laugh at my pantaloons. I take hold of a blubber spade and cut through. They need my help.
Eliza is in the South Atlantic now. It was a floating blubber oil factory out there manned by a League of Nations. There was so much pressure on captains to bring home a hold filled with oil and whalebone. Oil for lamps mainly, but also for things like soap and paint. And those long strips of ghost-like whalebone, the baleen, they come from inside the whale's mouth, used for everything from corsets to typewriter springs. The prize spermaceti went into candles and made for the cleanest lamp oil. You could even find it in hemorrhoid cream. Seriously. But not since the ban on international whaling in 1987.
My heart's on the table, my teeth for the child. But what if the waters hold secrets I held and kindly discovered as here I can tell? I see through the wall, so I'll sing it myself. My salt water sits in a jar on the shelf.
Eliza at her desk.
Nathaniel has forced me down to our cabin, worried for our baby and insisting I am not capable. Why? I built a cedar canoe with my brother when I was but 11 and rowed down every stream in moonlight when I wasn't rowing out to sea. I am too angry to write.
Never have we had such a disagreement. He worries for my safety. He regrets bringing me on board. He claims I badgered him to come on board.
Badgered? Not true. I was right when I persisted in coming.
And if I am not to help render the oil, then I demand to do something more. I will learn navigation. I shall count myself amongst the whaling wives who do.
N does not dislike this idea. I soften. He softens. I want to make love. But N worries we shall hurt the baby. Nonsense. Our baby loves love. His hand creeps up my skirt and rests between my legs, but does not stop there. I should stop writing. I would not want my mother to ever read this.
Eliza closes her journal, begins to tack charts up on the walls. Pearl at her attic window.
Why did my dad rip out the porch and build that patio instead? And plant that high hedge? I used to sit for hours on that porch with Grandma. It never made any sense to me, hiding our view of the sea.
We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He chastens and hastens his will to make known. The wicked oppressing now cease from distressing. Sing praise to his name, he forgets not his.
Amen. And I give thanks that we are all well. But the dolphin pie would be infinitely better with butter. The plum doth heavy as a grindstone. Please, winds, fill our sails to the bursting so we make it quickly past the Falklands and down around the Horn. We need to anchor in Chile's safe harbor and replenish our stores. We are without fresh vegetables, have been without sugar, and coffee tastes worse than water. Butter is long gone. Our cast of bread must be baked over to kill the weevils, but do not kill the cockroaches. They eat the bed bugs. I would bake my berry pies, but Cook reminds me we have no berries, and reminds me still that I am not welcome in the galley. Yet Cook is not even a cook. He is a candle maker who cheats on his wife and came aboard to hide away. And such a clumsy man, slicing his hand just as whales were sighted. I was left to show his bloody flesh needlepoint has its uses. I pictured tiny squares to either side of the deep gash as he winced and squirmed.
We have turkey with my dad's bread stuffing and creamy mashed potatoes with nearly a whole stick of butter. We need same old, same old. And I'm trying hard to feel thankful, but I don't feel anything. Too many firsts, too fast without you, Sam. Joey turns 6, Danny turns 10. Please tell Will he doesn't have to be the man of the house. Tell him he doesn't have to sit where you sat. I thought they'd fight about that. Not a peep out of Danny and Joey. I don't want to sit there. Ugh. But I am the captain and first mate and cook and cabin boy. And I'm not on an even keel.
Eliza takes the sextant from its box.
First mate begrudgingly teaches me how to use a sextant. I am determined to learn quickly, as without exception, I think him nearest to a savage of anyone I ever met. He has a very quick temper, is also very jealous, ignorant of the rules of good breeding, and yet has a very high opinion of himself. He appears surprised that I know the constellations as well as I do. I study the American Ephemeris and Nautical Almanac, my small but mighty Bible of sunrise and moonrise, its phases and eclipses. I take accurate sights with the sextant and will soon have no need of him.
Pearl holds a sextant.
This is a precious family heirloom. And personally, I don't know how Eliza did it. I've tried to learn so that I could try to teach you, just the basics anyway, but maybe we have to be there, right? There's a name engraved on the side, Janet Taylor. I looked her up. She was a scientific instrument designer from England with a patent in 1834 for the mariner's calculator.
Pearl puts the sextant back.
Eliza's been at sea for 5 months. Superior is closing in on Cape Horn at the bottom of South America. Remember, the Panama Canal didn't open until 1914, so if you wanted to get your whale ship from the Atlantic to the Pacific, you had no other choice. And the little book Eliza was referring to?
Pearl holds up a little book.
the American Ephemeris and Nautical Almanac. It's filled with stuff like Greenwich hour angles and declination of the sun and the moon and the navigational planets and positions of the navigational stars. And I can't really get my head around it. And I'm in awe of all the women who charted their way through these long, long whaling voyages. Could I learn to sail? I did learn once. I even won my adult beginner lasers race. But don't tell me it's like riding a bicycle. I feel afraid to try again, thinking I should remember what I learned. But that is just dumb. If I don't make mistakes, I'm not learning.
We'll be all right if we make it round the horn. We'll be all right if we make it round the horn. We'll be all right if we make it round the horn, and we'll all hang on behind.
I feel so healthy to be pregnant that I have blessedly nothing to report. A quiet day, a quiet Christmas. My family gathered round the long oak table without me, and I miss them so. And presented me with scrimshaw from a sperm whale's tooth, a portrait of a lady with a wind-blown skirt. She blows, it reads. So my captain does hear me after all, and displays a rare sense of humor. The crew presented us with a lovely wooden cradle. 'Twas our carpenter built it, but they all carved their initials beneath. I was touched, as was N, and we all had a laugh as the crew sang and danced.
Pearl wraps presents on her bed.
I meant to take it bright and cheery with Christmas lights and wrapping paper and just the right presents hidden inside, especially with my in-laws here. We need to be happy. They call my house a rat trap, and they want to know when we're coming home. They don't approve of the school. God forbid their grandsons don't get into Harvard. They tell me the boys are traumatized. Of course, we're fucking traumatized. And it's a 19th century saltbox colonial in need of a porch. Thank you very much.
Such a start to the new year. An albatross flies above the deck, and she is magnificent. Her wingspan is longer than the height of a man. Nathaniel loves to watch her travel by. She brings favorable winds. A wandering albatross navigates from her very soul. Home is wherever she goes. Home is wherever we go on our albatross, Superior. We remained on deck tonight for hours together, speaking the stars. Scorpius with his claw reaching, 4 small stars for its stingers, and Sirius, so very bright in the sky, and insists our daughter, will be born under June's brightest stars. He threatens to leave me in Honolulu when my time approaches, but I will not be without him at any cost. The Galapagos Islands, then, he wonders, if we are blessed with her sooner, where he promises me turtle soup, or much farther north.
You will not be on board in the Arctic, Eliza.
Though we both know of our course depends wholly on where we find the whales.
Eliza kneels on the deck.
Who can speak to save from my precious journal? Today, I heard the whales. We do hear them spouting their flukes, slapping the waves, but today was not this. It was not singing or calling.
Eliza's ear to the deck. She hears the sound of whales.
N would have pulled me straight up, but he was out in the whaleboat. I heard the whales crying.
Cook insists it was a sharpener readying the blades for cutting in. Carpenter fears I was touched. I saw it in her eyes, but I am not mistaken. I cannot breathe a word of this to N. I heard the whales crying. and it makes me want to burn the whale boats.
I was that whaler high up in the crow's nest, straining to hear the spout of a whale. The neurologist told me to record how many times your body jerked in the night, in the early morning. Was it 3 times at 5, Sam? Twice an hour later? Then you cried out, gasping for breath. You'd had another seizure. You got out of bed, and I couldn't stop you in time from heading to the stairs. You fell all the way down and hit your head on the metal newel post by the front door. There was no blood. I cradled you, waiting for the spasms to stop, listening out for the boys. Whew. I had a hard time sleeping after that. The doctors, the answer hunters. They were looking for patterns, trying to find clues in the patterns.
Ain't no use to sit and cry. Sail away, ladies, sail away. You'll be an angel by and by. Sail away, ladies, sail away. If ever I get my new house done, I'll give the old one to my son. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. You'll be an angel by and by. Sail away,
baby, sail away. Rounding Cape Horn was a breeze. 'Tis truly I have written. Strong easterly breezes had Superior under full sail. Icebergs loomed like large golden mountains many miles away. They did not look dangerous. They looked beautiful. What on earth was all the fuss about? And warns me not to take this ease of passage for granted. We cannot trust the sea, and we're extremely lucky. But he admits of being very happy too. We shall anchor off the coast of Valparaiso. Hallelujah, Neptune.
Pearl at her open front door, fiddling with a tape measure. A shovel leans against the wall.
Down to the roots, we yanked out those fucking hedges with so much strength that the dirt went flying everywhere. Blisters, the boys too. I never knew I had that much strength. All these people walking by and peering in now. Hello, hi, I could care less. The porch is going back on, and we'll sit out here like I used to with Grandma every summer morning, eating thick toast, slathered with the best raspberry jam in the world.
Pearl jumps down and paces out the length and width of the porch.
We've been planting raspberry bushes in the same spot for forever.
I am sobered by my actions today, and was horrified to find me on the ladder clutching the sextant, the precious sextant. I am getting so good at fixes that I challenged myself to attempt one above deck, and yelled out, whence the baby kicked, I am sure of it, which caused me to drop the sextant. It bounced upon the deck. How could you take such a risk? He demands. Never have I heard him so fierce. Why did I take such a risk? Because I am strong and healthy. I can climb. I am ready for my baby. Yet for once, I did not resist being ordered to rest.
Pearl sits on the threshold and reads the journal.
Here I lay, mind abuzz, beneath my mother's quilt. I feel her kicking up a storm. I must put down my pen.
We have docked for the first time since setting sail 7 months ago. Valparaiso is filled with whale ships, masts as a forest of tall birches. Homes painted in greens and blues and yellows climb up and up the hillside. Baskets of potatoes and mangoes. Butter! Potatoes, please, butter. I want to meet a woman from Chile, yet I am ordered to stay aboard while N goes in search of a new sextant, and yet such joy. I have gammed with a carpenter's wife from a nearby ship, and all my loneliness sunk to the seabed. Charity from Falmouth, she says. I am so desperate for company, trapped in the doldrums for weeks. She sails with her 2 little girls and teaches them on board. Are you an African whale ship? She asks me. 'Tis not the first time I have heard this, and I do not take it as willful ignorance. I explain that my handsome and most decidedly competent captain climbed steadily from cabin boy age 12 to 3rd mate to 2nd and 1st before he was made captain of Superior 3 years ago. He is not the first colored captain to feel safer at sea, and he will not be the last. Oh! To have a woman's ear for 3 whole hours, talking of birth and family and a boat full of heathens commonly called the crew. Bring me butter, I cry from the deck.
Pearl holds up a captain's logbook.
They bought more staves to build more barrels, too. These numbers are very small, but captains' logbooks recorded one inside the belly of each whale stamp. 20, 50, 40. That's how many barrels of oil they got from each whale. I do love these stamps. Iconic, aren't they? But then I think it's awful, really, to be romanticizing these images. Because the more barrels filled, the more whales killed, and Superior is headed for whales in the Okhotsk. That's hard to say. Off the coast of Japan. And then the Bering Strait into the Arctic, where captains did not want to take their wives. Dropping them off in Honolulu was the thing to do.
How I wish we were still on the coast of Chile, loading supplies and taking no whales. The mother would not leave her calf's side. The poor little thing could not keep up with the rest. A mother never abandons her young, says N. Then leave them go, I scream. He ordered me below, but I would not go. I am on board a floating murder factory.
You are a blubber hunter's wife.
Yes, I am that. I am a blubber hunter's wife. I want to go home. Take me back to my mother and sisters.
Dear Eliza, I had a dream I was on board the Superior. I was up in the crow's nest straddling the trees, in the hoops. Rickety, you know? But I didn't mind. I'm not afraid of heights. I spotted a whale and I shouted, "She blows!" 2 points on the weather bow. But no boat left the whale ship and rowed out to sea. Then I was all arms and legs, falling from the crow's nest, ripping through the sails. When I landed on the deck, the sails cushioned me, but smothered me too. I was suffocating under their weight, and no words would come. When I finally pushed away the sails, I looked up and I saw the mast split in 2, like a tree that forked halfway up its trunk. When I woke up, the dream still felt right beside me, and I thought, well, that's obvious, that we were split in 2. But how is it that Sam's side looks so strong and tall, as if it's still growing like a tree?
Nathaniel speaks of change, and this surprises me. He dreams of a farm, not of whales and barrels of oil. He wishes to build us a bigger home with a greenhouse.
He pictures apple trees and bushes laden with berries and large fields of hay. He points far out to sea and says, "Do you see us sitting there with our little ones? We'll picnic in summer amongst the black-eyed Susans with a sleigh in the barn for rides in the snow."
Eliza fishes from the deck, heavily pregnant.
The doldrums. The doldrums.
We'll be all right if the wind was in our sails. We'd be all right if the wind was in our sails. We'd be all right.
3 crew members not well. N has no sympathy. He claims their fever stems from Valparaiso. I overheard crew laughing about their lively dancing partners. It was far more than lively dancing. And now, without a headwind, I am doomed to smell the men's shirts. They soak their greasy clothes in urine from the barrel to clean the dirt, then boil them in lye, not often enough.
Maybe my boys should pee on their socks. They wear them like shoes, and I can never get them clean.
Well, a nice washbelow wouldn't do us any harm. Well, a nice washbelow wouldn't do us any harm. Well, a nice washbelow wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all hang on behind.
I make rope. I take sights. I stare out to sea. I sleep far less well with this large belly of mine. Why, look there. We pass a small bed of seaweed. And imagine we began to meet with rockweed. Even a seal asleep in the water with nothing to do. I went fishing for seaweed. I dried large pieces of deck of the most exquisite patterns. I used the glue from our goat Sally to paste them to the walls of our cabin. I am so sorry, Sally, but we needed the meat. Nathaniel has been fighting with me about their removal. My captain has no taste, but when I take his hand and place it on my belly, he forgets all this. She kicks and kicks. The waves feel high within me.
Pearl thumbing through the journal at her desk.
Eliza, when are you having your baby? You haven't written anything for days.
Strongest sensations, I hold my belly. I cannot sit, I only stand and pace.
That's it! She's having contractions.
I need air! Why must I be so confined to the cabin?
Oh, God! Let the poor woman do what she needs to do.
She leafs through again.
Nothing. I hope she hasn't lost the baby. Take deep breaths, Eliza.
Eliza holds a newborn in her arms, nursing.
William is 10 days old.
Yes. Oh, thank God for that.
N is ecstatic in his cries. Let the wide Pacific Ocean hear me shout. I am father to a beautiful baby boy.
That's it? You write nothing else? How big is he? Is he feeding okay?
I squeeze my breast and watch the milk squirt across the cabin.
I love doing that. Our body's doing it. Sam was such a devoted new father, too devoted. As soon as Will even whimpered, he'd whisk him over to my breast.
N does not approve. He tells me not to waste the milk.
He's still hungry, he'd say. But I fed him 20 minutes ago. No wonder I had so much milk.
Eliza soothes William in the cradle at her feet.
N forbids me to feed William up on deck, yet he comforts me too, with talk of the farm and our families. I insist he has his father's eyes. Perhaps he does, though he has your nose, Eliza. Many whales taken and we remain south. Yet there is much unease. Carpenter complains his limbs ache, and 2 more with fever. Cook allows me into the galley at last, so as to mix 1 drac of horseradish with water. We have no sugar. They drink it bitter.
Men are dying. 6 this past week. It has cast a gloom over all on board. Our first mate is gone, and I'm left to navigate. Many sperm whale taken. No time for scrimshaw.
When William sleeps, I make rope when knowing I should be at other tasks, sleeping even. But the lengthening of the rope soothes me no end.
Why can't my boys still take naps? I feel so tired all the time. Where is the North Star hiding when the waves grow high and you can't find a single star in the sky? Forgive me. But here's where I can't stop the metaphors from coming, because we're always learning the ropes, aren't we? You choose a partner. Is he your captain? Are you his first mate? When is it the other way around? When will I ever be on an even keel?
Black surrounds me. Only blackness. My love's heart weakened so, shattered by this sickness. I cannot feel the beating of my own. Nathaniel's eyes are cloudy and his speech muddled. A root, he whispers, a root that runs along here all the way to the maple tree. I cannot pull it out, grandfather. Uproot my carrots, uproot them. Stop the giant squid from writhing, biting, all of its legs squeezing me. Be calm, my darling, please let this fever break. I fear now to touch my love. I will not allow William by his side.
The wind picks up as a hard wave hits the deck.
Our second mate gone, William nearly 3 weeks old. I pray, be well, my little one.
The waves tower above and come crashing down. The ship heaves and pitches.
Exhaustion sets in, yet I must put pen to paper. Such wild tumult. The great storm came on swiftly, and N rose from his bed. I was at the helm with dear, quiet William strapped tightly to my breast. N ordered me to give over William. I refused. I ordered him below. He refused me.
The war of wind and wave and water overwhelms the superior.
I pleaded with him, and then I, Elizabeth Hunt Ripley, I ordered Superior to come about. He tried to seize the helm from me, but my poor captain was too weak. He looked at me with such sorrow, yet such love. And I yearned with all my heart to be home with him, to wrap myself in his arms. He stepped away and went below. He knew we could not go any farther north.
A great ripping sound of wood as the mast crashes to the deck.
I roped us to the helm and sailed us blindly, headlong round Cape Horn. No stars, no horizon to take a single sight. How I wished a whale to save me, to take me in as the whale did Jonah. But why would a whale save a human soul?
My darling Nathaniel, my love, captain of my ship and father to my child, he is gone.
My friends, for many I leave. We've sailed together in the deep.
A policeman comes to the door. You better sit down, he says. You need to come with me. I'll go, Will says. No, I tell him, you can't go. Can't go with him. I'll do it, Mom. I'll go. Oh, he's not yet 13, but he is out the door and into the police car. I want someone to rush to the hospital so that my son is not alone when he sees his father. I call Sam's father. What room is he in, he asks. And I say, I don't know. I think he's gone. Danny and Joey are coming down the stairs. Please, God, don't let them hear what I just said. I don't want to find the time to tell my children their father has died. And Will, he sees his dead father, and he is all alone. Sam's father doesn't make it to the hospital in time. It never should have happened that way.
Let us shake our hands, I'll sail no more, but shipmates work for me. I'm bound above, my course is run, I near the port, my voyage is done.
can't let you go in a box like all the other boxes. I need to be left alone with the coffin, I say. The funeral director wants to know how much time I'll need, and I'm like, I don't know. I've never done this before. I don't know how long the carving will take. He looks worried then. Looks down at my bag. Don't worry, I say. It's not like I have a chainsaw in here or something. He lets me into the room, and then he leaves me alone. I'm standing beside your coffin. I start to open the lid, but then I decide no. I can't do that. I'll let them place the letter and the soccer ball inside, the salsa CD, things the boys want to leave with you, Sam. I scratch swirls and curves into the dark wood. The perfect corkscrew curls on his head, and the S for Sam. But I feel so clumsy. I make mistakes. It's hard to take an even curve. You're right here. Your head and your curls and your whole being 6 inches away. But I can't reach you. Never again. All I can do is make my marks, my scrimshaw goodbye, before your coffin turns to ash.
Eliza now captains the Superior. She is at the helm, William strapped to her.
How will I live without your love? Without lying beside you each night, our legs entwined, the skin by your ankles soft as baby William's, my foot rubbing the top of yours, then your foot rubbing mine. We were like school children. My turn now, no, mine. Each and every night in our cabin, we rocked gently with the waves side by side.
Your eyes, your touch, your mischievous grin, your annoying way of driving with only one hand on the wheel.
You did not always like me, but you did not regret having me on board. And now everything about this life feels too big without you. The sails, the masts, our cabin bed too wide. The only thing in this world that feels right-sized is our baby boy. I cannot bear for William to leave my arms and be laying within his cradle.
One more pull, girls, that'll do, girls. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey's nearly done.
My 3 lively boys. We swing our hammers and we drive the nails into the frame for our new porch.
Headwinds near us to Rio. Crew returned from port with rum. They need it desperately, as do I, to preserve N's body.
I donated Sam's brain to science, preserved in who knows what. Maybe they'll learn something.
Though he has salt in his veins, I refuse to bury him at sea. Nathaniel loved the land. He dreamed of a farm.
Only 4,000 miles to sail till we view masts in our home harbor.
I will have him near me always.
The families of the men who lost their lives need their lay. William and I need my captain's lay more than ever.
One more pull, girls, that'll do, girls. Soon we'll draw alongside. Hoist her upward, swing her inboard, for the journey is nearly done.
William watched with glee as bricks from the try-works were thrown overboard. He is 10 weeks old, and we are very nearly home. Yet my heart is empty. Will it ever feel lighter when I am home?
The word widow makes me sick. It holds no poetry. It rhymes with nothing. Biddo, liddo, middo. How about a widow fish swimming blindly in the shallows?
I won't let you think I'm going to be cursed, Mama. You made me feel I couldn't trust my body after Timothy died. You begged me not to go to sea. Yet, I hold my healthy baby boy, and despite no husband, we sail home with oil in hold to begin a new life on dry land. I will build a farm, a beautiful barn, all that Nathaniel ever dreamed of.
Eliza, with William bundled in her arms, steps off the Superior.
I did not shirk my duty to these men. We needed to harpoon the whales. It's how we survived. Superior was in no shape to sail again. We took her apart, plank by plank.
Pearl and Eliza move past one another. Eliza leaves a sleeping William in his basket. As Pearl comes downstairs, Eliza heads up to the bedroom, where she puts away her journal and the corset in the chest.
I want for nothing but field, tree, and flower. My husband sailed us bravely through year, month, and hour. I want for nothing but his company. He perished as a captain, his men left to me. Come I from sea, a stranger to my fellows. Come I from sea, a mother and a widow.
Pearl puts on her docent jacket, as if this is her first day to give a talk at the museum.
The Superior arrived back home in August of 1859. She held 900 barrels of oil. Not great, since the average was around 1,500 barrels. But she had baleen and spermaceti, worth as much as the oil. So, not too terrible, considering that her voyage was cut tragically short. You know, working here has opened my eyes to so much about the past. I never dreamed I'd end up working in the place I loved so much as a kid. And I remembered something yesterday, a memory from a long time ago, buried deep below. When my grandma handed me Eliza's journal, she told me this really weird thing. Eliza was her great-grandmother, but you already knew that. Anyway, she said, "You do realize there's the hull of a boat beneath the kitchen floor." Of course, I didn't know that. And it made no sense. The whole hull of a whale ship?
Eliza carries the star-patterned quilt downstairs.
And I hope you don't think I'm digressing. I mean, I'm supposed to be talking to you about whaling, but there's this word I really love. Tumble home. I fell in love with the word without knowing what it meant. It turns out that tumble home refers to the design of a hull. And the hull is the home of the ship. It's the very center. If you don't build a watertight hull, then everything and everyone on board is at risk. A tumble home hull allows for more space below the waterline. So I've been thinking, if life is a ship, if I'm a ship, and you're a ship, then we all need a tumble home hull. We've got more room for memories, more room for new ones too. Memories are the weight that steadies our ship with its tumble home hull.
Eliza strings a clothesline.
It's not the whole hull of the whale ship beneath my kitchen floor, but there's enough wood down there to keep us strong and steady.
Pearl plants herself on the porch. Eliza hangs the quilt out to air. Then, with William back in her arms, she joins Pearl on the porch. They both stare out to sea.
Way, hold away, we'll hold away together. Way, hey! hold away, we'll hold away home. Way, hey, hold away, we'll hold away together. Way, hold away, we'll hold away home. Way, hold away, we'll hold away home. Way, hold away, we'll hold away home.
End of play.